So a few words about major lines of projects and thinking that we're dealing with. Project that we started last year and started it out of the idea and out of reality that we as an art institution don't have an exhibition space, we don't have a gallery. And for Ukrainian case is very strange. If you're an art institution, you have to have a gallery, you have to showcase. We don't. And there are two reasons for that. First is because we're dealing more with research and experiment than with showcasing. And second, that being an independent art institution in Kiev, we cannot afford a gallery space. But we have a discussion space. We have a small room at our office where we organize discussions. And we thought that this non-gallery, non-representative, non-exhibition space can serve as a space to show what happens before art is ready to be exhibited, if it's ever ready to be exhibited. So we launched a project that's called an open studio. It means that we invite artists, usually younger artists, to come and work with this 35 square meter room as their temporary working space. Do whatever they feel necessary or interesting at this certain moment to do, to work with the project that they're working and thinking through. And then people can come for a shorter period of time, for, I don't know, a couple hours discussion meeting or series of meetings to see and to listen and to try to understand how artists thinks and how artistic ideas and projects are being created. What does it mean to be not successful? Because not all artistic ideas are being realized and not all of them being successful. To try to see art as a process rather than a certain result, because art is a process rather than result. To get out of a framework of production of art, but start to think of an art as a certain process that connects different realities. And it's been a very interesting project. We had 5 artists already, and we will carry on with this project as long as it works. So far it works. This brings us to another line of our projects, which also connects to the situation that we don't have an exhibition space, but we're working with artists. And not only, but predominantly with artists. And that's how we came to this series of projects connected to the urban development and public space. 2 sides and 2 issues come together here. One is the general problem of artists in Ukraine that are used to work with galleries and museums and private art centers, and thinking in terms of the white cube of a certain sterile environment that's meant for art representation, but that are not ready, that are not sometimes even interested to get out of the white cube and see how art can work with the public spaces and with the problems of the public spaces that represent. And again, in Ukrainian situation, it's not just the whole issue of urban development and public spaces that are being mostly rendered by private capital, and of the general situation when people don't connect to the issue of public space, that because of a Soviet past and very specific neoliberal present that we're living through, the whole idea and the concept of public space, meaning common space, meaning idea of people being together and being together responsible for development of something, is just not present in the society. And then the risk of an artist getting out of a protected situation into a situation where the contact with audience and the reaction of the audience and the interaction with the audience is unpredicted. And where the audience is usually not knowledgeable, not educated about what contemporary art is and what it can do and why it does what it does. And the audience in general, as a society in general, is rather aggressive and intolerant. So we decided to try and work with this situation. For 2 years now we've been realizing a series of artistic projects in public space. In 2012 there was a series of projects called Search Other Spaces, when artists were choosing locations and situations and problems in the city that they wanted to deal with. And we had 6 artistic projects and an international series of lectures and workshops on art in public space. And this year it was a big project called Architecture of Common that happened on May this year on the location of former Unis factory. It is a very symbolic location because it was a place of a big public conflict between the private owner and developer of that space and general public and Kiev activists that protested quite successfully against development yet another shopping or office center in the very heart of a historical Kiev. As a result of this protest, certain consensus was reached where the developer publicly pledged to build a new cultural center that the city really needs, because we don't have any cultural centers that would be open for new forms of art, that would be open for independent cultural actors. But the developer didn't move on with this idea, so there is just this pledge, but nothing more yet. So there was a 4-day international project with art project, with discussions and with kind of public forum of cultural operators and activists from Kiev discussing what this place can be, what this place might be if the cultural community in Kiev gets engaged with it. Do we need a cultural space for the city, and if we do, then what kind of space it should be? The results of this project we'll publish it by the end of this year, and next year we'll carry on with the idea of the researching and interaction and problematizing public space in Kiev by international artists. And third project that I wanted to tell is the one that we're launching right now, and the first event in this project will be within a month and a half. It's called a seminar on cultural criticism and reportage, Culture 3.0, and it's a half a year discussion, learning, self-education and educational program for people who think and write on culture, with an idea to create a common base and common understanding on what are the cultural processes that are happening nowadays, how they rooted in the political and economical reality, what is happening in general in the country and on the global scale, how it influences the smaller scale events and policies and institutions working in Ukraine. And it's going to be quite a thrilling project, I think, and we take it as a first step with the idea and with the belief that we want to have it as a yearly ongoing educational project for people who write and think on culture.